Hey guys, my name is Rose and today I'm going to be teaching you how to play my game Nusubito. So Nusubito is a two-player hidden movement game with elements of abstract strategy in which one player will be taking on the role of a thief who's going to be leaping across a number of temple tops in the search of a hidden treasure. The other player is going to be playing the mists. They're going to be kind of spirit-like creatures who are going to be guarding the temples, going to be spreading out across the temple courtyard, trying to find and capture the thief. The game plays across a series of day and night cycles. You get 3 rounds per day and only 1 round per night. And the game will end when the thief finds the hidden treasure, the mists capture the thief, or the third one, or the thief cannot make a valid action this turn. So let's jump into Tabletopia and I'll show you how it plays. So here we are in Tabletopia. We have everything laid out, but first I want to draw your attention to these things here. These are rods, and at the start of each game you're going to select them and you're going to shuffle them. You're going to make sure that these are shuffled good, and then you're going to place them out in the relevant spots along the A, C, E columns and the 1, 2, 3 rows. Now just to show you what these are, I'm going to shift select them all and then flip them, clicking F. So as you can see, per rows and columns we have 2 red rods and 1 green rod. The green rods are what we're after, and that's going to show us where the hidden treasure is. The hidden treasure is where the 2 green rods meet. So here we've got 1 on E and 1 on 3, therefore E3 is where the hidden treasure is. But obviously nobody's going to know this at the start of the game because this is all going to be shuffled and faced down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip these over. For the playthrough it doesn't necessarily matter that I know where they are, because this is all just to help teach you guys how to play the game. So that's what the rods do. I want to show you we've got a 0, 1, 2 setup for the mists. Okay, so a healer is a level 0, a builder is a level 1, and a seeker is a level 2. And that's basically going to show me how much how many darts are needed to attack these things when it comes to it. For the thief, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up all of my movement tokens, all of my coins. I'm going to click it once to highlight the entire column, and then click and drag that down to the bottom of my screen where this little glow appears, and I'm going to release it, and they are now in my hands. So I can, as I move around, they're going to stick with me and my opponent cannot see them. Final thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself 2 darts from the dart pool. I'm going to be starting in C3, and I think that's about it. We're able to start the game. So let me just go through quickly exactly how you're going to be playing this. Going to be starting with the thief and their day turns. As mentioned before, you're going to have 3 rounds per day and then 1 round per night. So this is what the thief can do in a day turn. Now this is a hidden movement game, so this player marker is not going to be used. It's going to be kind of hidden off the board. But for now, as I'm teaching it, I'm going to be using it. I'm going to be moving around like this. But because this is hidden movement, instead of moving the player marker, I'm going to be using the coins in my hand to keep track of where I'm moving to. So let me show you this through the examples of what you can actually do. So per day turn, the thief can move 2 spaces. He can move to the temples that are neighbouring him. Okay, so that's in an orthographic sort of direction along the row or the column. So he can choose to move 2 spaces, so that would look like this: 1, 2. He will choose to move to E1, and therefore instead of placing a player marker there, he will grab his E1 coin, press F to flip it in his hand, and then click and drag and put it down onto the table. On his next turn, he might choose to move 3 spaces. Okay, so he can move 3 spaces, but at the cost of an additional dart. So he might want to go 1, 2, 3, ending on A3. Okay, so I've got that card, that coin there, so I can do this. But in order to do that, he's going to have to sacrifice another one of his coins. So he might want to sacrifice, let's say, E5. So I'm going to grab hold of E5, I'm going to flip it, I'm going to sacrifice it, and then I'm going to take the actual location where I am, A3, flip that, and then place that on top of it. Having these 2 coins together suggests to my opponent that I have moved 3 spaces. Final thing that I can do is I can choose to move 1 single space and then do an action. So let's say I do that, I move from A3 down to A5, I grab my A5 coin, flip it and place it down, and I can do any action that I wish. Okay, let me just show you some of these actions. So I can collect a dart, I can look at a rod, I can pick up a coin, or I can hide. Cool. So I might choose to pick up a coin, taking one from the pool. I might choose to take one of these coins, as long as it's a coin that I have not played this turn. So I might actually ask my opponent to look away from the computer for a moment, have a look at which coins that I want, and you know, maybe I want to go back up to A3. So I'm going to grab that and drag that back into my hand, and then flip the other 2, and now my opponent can look at the screen again. The other thing that I can do is I can look at one of the rods along my row or column. Okay, so I'm in A5, I can look at the A rod or the 5 rod. So I might look at the 5 rod, flip that, it's a red one. Okay, not the information that I wanted, but at least now I know that one of these 2 is the green one. So I'm going to flip that back. Obviously I'm going to try and do this as secretly as possible. It's important to make sure that your opponent doesn't know what colour the rod is, but they may know, you may allow them to know which rod you're looking at, or you might want to do this completely silently and say, turn away, they don't even know which rod you're looking at all. So yeah, there's that. The other thing that you can do is you can choose to hide, and that's simply a way of bluffing to your opponent. And you can choose to hide after doing any of these things. So let's say moving once and hiding, you're tricking your opponent. They might think that you've actually moved twice, or you might choose to sacrifice a coin. So let's just, as we had it before, sacrifice a coin to suggest that you're moving 3 times, but you might actually only choose to move once and then hide for the rest of it. So yeah, keep your opponent on their toes by bluffing a little bit. The mists are going to be trying to slow you down and get in your way, and one of the ways that they can do that is by bolstering temples. Now, a bolstered temple is going to cost both of your actions or both of your movements to move onto or from. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's going to take your entire turn pretty much to move onto or from one of these guys. Another way that they can get in your way is pretty much just exactly that, by moving and getting in your way. So let me show you this. I'm going to grab myself, say if I've picked up another dart, just for this example. I cannot move over one of the mists without attacking it. Okay, so I'll be able to move from C3 up to C1 without attacking anything because there's nothing there. But if I wanted to go from C3 to E3 and move over this guy, this little guy, he is one of the healers, one of the level 0s. He's going to cost nothing to attack, but I have to attack him. And to attack him, I simply just flip him over, pressing F on my keyboard. That gives a bit of information away to my opponent, but it doesn't really cost me anything. That being said, if I wanted to go from c3 down to c5, I'm going to have to pass over the builder. They are a level 1 and therefore they're going to cost me one of my darts to attack. And as I'm sure you probably guessed, moving from c3 over to a3 through this big guy, through this seeker who's a level 2, he's going to cost me, that's right, 2 darts to attack. Now, once these guys are downed, once they're attacked and they're in this downed position, they cannot be of any use for the mist player until they are healed. And they also pose no threat. So once a mist is downed, I can now kind of move over them without having to attack them again. So that is that. Finally, these big guys, these seekers, they can occasionally be on a temple. Okay, let's do it that way, why not? If they're on a temple, it's exactly the same sort of rules as before. I need to have my 2 darts to be able to spend them to move to or from a temple with this guy. If I'm doing that, if I'm running through there or I'm moving to that particular temple, I'm effectively pushing him off. I'm going to spend both of my darts back into there. I'm going to flip him, and if there is an available space around the bottom, I'm going to push him off that temple and land there. If there was no available space, then I'll still be able to move to that space, but he's not going to be pushed off. He's just going to kind of stay on there. Another way that I can attack these guys, once again I need my 2 darts. Oops. Another way that I can attack these guys is from a distance, along their row or column. So say if I wanted to attack this guy, I might move to a3 and spend my 2 darts to attack that guy. And then, you know what, continue on, why not? That's my 2 movement and I've attacked this guy. If you're attacking a guy from one of the seekers from a distance, then they stay on top of the temple. They don't kind of get pushed off. They're just staying up on there. Finally, when I think I know where the coins are, where the hidden treasure is, sorry, I'm just going to make my way to that position and claim that I have it. Now, I know that I saw this before, but I can't remember which ones were green. So I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going to say that I've moved to C1. Why not? I'm going to say, hey guys, stop the game. I have found this this hidden treasure. I will reveal myself. So I've just played C1. Put that down in front of me, reveal it, reveal myself, and then reveal the 2 rods. Boom. I did not choose correctly. That is terrible. If they were both green, then I would have won. But because even one of them, 2 of them, are red, that means that I've kind of failed this game and I lose, boop, 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 and the Mists have won. Either way, this is, even though that this is a bonus action, so I could move 2 spaces, let's say 1, 2, and then do this action, it's a game-ending action. You either win or you lose, so you've got to be pretty kind of confident in where those green rods are. Cool. So that's pretty much everything that the thief is going to be doing on a day-by-day turn, and we do have little player aids here to be able to get a grip of all this sort of stuff. I'm going to move over to the mist now, and I'm going to set those up and go through what they're doing. So let's just do that. I'm going to put them back into the 0, 2, 3 positionings. Very good. Cool. And I'm going to get rid of this guy. I'm going to hide my hand. Cool. So these guys are going to be playing very, very differently to the thief. Whereas the thief is going to be hidden and moving around, these guys are going to stay revealed on the temple courtyard. Per day, they have they have 3 actions with which they can use any missed pawns on the courtyard or on the board, but they may only use each one once. Okay, so I can't like kind of move this guy and then move him again. Additionally, each one can do something completely different. So I'm going to go through, starting with the healer, the guy at the bottom, level 0. What he can do is he can move once, or he can choose to move through a connected, linked stream of mist. So he might go around here and then land here or here or here, wherever he wants to go. Let's say he's moved here. He cannot move through a downed mist, okay? So that kind of blocks it. A downed mist is basically blocking that space. But what the healer can do is, obviously, as the name suggests, heal. So he can sacrifice himself, by literally removing themselves from the board to heal a downed Moya that they're next to. Then this guy would be able to make his movement. So that's what they can do. They can move once, they can move through, or they can sacrifice themselves to heal. These mid guys, these builders, level 1s, they're able to move once in a diagonal. Okay, so they can only move diagonally, and they can sacrifice themselves to bolster a neighbouring temple. Okay, now there are only 2 of these bolster components, so let's say if they're both on the board and this guy wants to sacrifice themselves to bolster C1, then they can do that, but they're going to have to choose which of the current bolsters they're going to have to move. So that's how they work. Finally, these big guys, these guys can move once, so move one space in an orthogonal kind of direction, and when they do, they spawn a healer behind them. They can also occupy, moving onto a temple, and spawn. Now, one thing that they can't do, they can't occupy a bolstered temple in the same way that actually you can't bolster an occupied guy. Oh, look at that. That was fun. Let's put that back. So yeah, you can't bolster and occupy at the same point. But what these guys can do is they can move through a line of linked mist to a connected temple. So for example here, this guy will be able to move through like these over onto this. Let's say if these were here, then he'd be able to move through like that onto there. Even if this was the case, he'd be able to move through even through another occupying temple over to that temple. So as long as the 2 temples, the one that you're starting on and the one that you're wanting to move to, has mists that can allow you to get there, then you're able to effectively move across the board super quickly. Finally, if this guy believes that he is now on the temple that has the thief, they will say, and they will kind of, once again, this is a bonus action and it's an ending game action, but they're able to say, hey guys, we've found you, we've captured the thief, it's the end of the game. The thief will have to show the players where they were by revealing themselves there, or kind of revealing the last played coin. And if they're correct, if the mist were correct, then they win. If the thief turned out to be on C1 rather than A1, then the thief wins and the mist lose. So that's what they can do. I just want to add another little thing here. Let's add this guy on here. If you get 3 of the level 1 healers adjacent to each other, then they can sacrifice all 3 of them to add a builder in one of the previously occupied spaces. Now, because these guys can only move diagonally, then, you know, don't put him in one of these interim sort of spaces because they wouldn't have anywhere to move. Then he might spend an action to move over here, and now we've got 3 of these builders next to each other in a diagonal, and these guys can now sacrifice themselves to pick up a seeker and place them in one of the kind of previously occupied spaces, let's say there. So that's how you basically increase your power on the board. So once 3 day turns have been done, so the thief, and then the mist, then the thief, then the mist, then the thief, and then the mists, then it goes into the night turn. So what do we do in the night turn? Well, first off, we cannot move during the night turn. Nobody moves, but we use that night turn to be able to increase our power. Okay, so the thief, let's see this. The thief has 3 action points, okay, and they can spend those actions to do whatever they want. They can either pick up a dart, they can pick up a previously played coin, or they can look at one of the relevant rods, relevant to the temple that they're on, or they can even unbolster something, unbolster a temple. The caveat is the more action points that they spend, the more they're going to give away from of their location. So if they spend 0 or 1 action points, then it's going to have no effect. If they spend 2 action points, it's going to reveal their row or column. So they'd have to kind of say, oh, I am on C, or I am on 1. If they spend all 3, then they're going to have to show exactly where they are. All right, I'm on C1, but I've also been able to pick up 2 darts and also look at a rod. Cool. So that's the night phase for the thief. The night phase for the mists are as follows. Once again, these guys aren't going to be moving, but let me just flip this and show you guys. Mists, night. They get 2 action points. It costs 1 to spawn a healer, 1 to upgrade a healer to a builder, and 2 to upgrade a builder to a seeker. So for example, let's say I had a builder on there, not there. I might use 1 action point to spawn a healer, and then another action point to upgrade the healer into a builder. Or I might spend both of them to upgrade a builder into a seeker, once again giving us more kind of fighting power on the board. After all of that, if there are any downed mists, they are all healed. And I just want to say as well, using action points, if this guy was downed but I wanted to upgrade him into a builder, I can't do that because he's downed. I can't use him. So I'm going to have to wait until he is healed. And healing happens at the end of the night, before they start the day. They all get up from their slumber, ready to attack and fight and find the thief again. So that's the day. That's the night turn. Once you've done that, you go back onto your next day, and you continue and continue until one of the end game conditions is achieved. So that's the game. It's a bit of a mouthful to teach, but I think you'll find that when you start playing it and you get into the flow of it, you can swim through it quite quickly. It is quite a thinker, so if you enjoy thinky kind of abstract games, trying to figure out where your opponent is or figure out how to move around in an efficient way, this is a game for you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a playthrough. So I'm going to add that in as a second video. So the link should be below in the description. And I really hope that you've enjoyed this. And if you're going to play this, then I really hope that you have a good fun time. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you in the playthrough. Cheers.